Welcome and congratulations. You are an amazingly ambitious soul and are here to get ahead of everyone in order to receive all that you believe comes with the perceived aheadness of life. So here's the secret, the answer, the truth, which you will have no doubt about how to implement by the end of this video. To get all the way ahead and stay ahead into infinite perpetuity for your one life is to become the only one. For all you have is you, and all you can do is make it you versus you. Because to believe you can get ahead of anyone, alert, rant incoming, let alone as is a niche topic in this space, 99% of everyone, is not just incomprehensible to me, but extremely arrogant, ignorant, and dare I say, dangerous. And since I'm on a roll, it's also a myth, clickbait, and an egocentric fantasy of fear. This is also the limiting root of social consciousness narrated by today's societal structure. Imagine believing we are made from all the same image, yet hell-bent on being ahead or better than 99% of everyone, which if you analyze can be described and defined as comparison, which then creates fear, jealousy, and the most flagrant of offenses to me, coveting. Think about it. For my friends, if and when you cease to associate with the material objectivity that our limited social consciousness would have you believe defines and exemplifies aheadness, success, or any form of actualization, if you can cease that, then and only then, with great empathy, compassion, and integrity for ourselves as people doing nothing more than, as Alan Watts would say, peopling, we can ask ourselves, how is it possible to get ahead of 99% of people made in the same image? In what? By what standards and measurements? What is the quantifiable and qualifiable metric to determine with great accuracy and definitiveness? I'm still ranting. Is it money? Is it house? Cars? Fame? Social consciousness? Let me ask you, since I've triggered that into your brain, hopefully, possibly. Even if you had the most money, the biggest house, the fastest car, and you were the most recognizable human in this illusion of reality, how does that put you ahead? And who has the audacity to claim authority of that level of anointment? The answer to me, from what I've learned, 40 plus trips around the sun, is absolutely 0%. For no one being human or flesh is Father God. And I'll end my rant before we get productive this way. Fuck your opinions of me, and you should start telling others, fuck their opinions of you. And with that, I do offer hope. And my offering specifically is the great possibility for self-aheadness. And if you need a number, because we like numbers, you can get ahead of you by 99, 1,000, 10,000, or truly a never-ending infinite percent as soon as right now and into your forever. How? Because all this life game is and ever will be for you to feel ahead is to compete with full conviction and passion as you versus you. So now that we've ranted and have a baseline, let's get into the how with 4 reasonable action steps to get you ahead of yourself. Step 1, Create a vision that seeks success of the emotion. Now, I do think after my opening rant, a brief story is appropriate. That helps the mind ease a little bit. I'm going to go back about 20 years ago, 20 previous trips around the sun, maybe even longer than that. I was about 19, and I worked at the Gap, Old Navy, Banana Republic, that thing there. And that somehow was a big thing for me because that interview process, whether you know it or not, is deep. And one of the steps in the process is to interview together in a group of about 20 finalists, all sitting in a classroom style setting. And we know how intimidating that could be because you're around other people peopling, thinking all these crazy thoughts. And then everyone's asked a question, and when they're asked this question, whatever it is, why do you think you want to work here? You have to explain yourself by standing up and talking in front of the entire room. And I remember being called and thinking, this is the Gap, right? And this is for a bring boxes in stock position, not a seat on the board. Like, what am I interviewing for here, right? Anyhow, of course, I'm cliche Jeff. I'm good with the verbal warfare. I got the gift of gab. I get the job. And it's everything a standard stock job is. And part of my responsibilities is to work with a guy named Tennis. Yes, like the sport, and more of that in a few. Tennis had the most important task of keeping all the denim walls, which are jeans, filled and looking pretty. Because if you've ever shopped in a clothing store, remember this is years ago, before the digital online experience, the presentation of that wall, which there were about, I say 2 walls on each floor, and there were 3 floors, and the math says 3 times 2 is 6. So 6 walls filled with jeans. This was everything to the business and aesthetically to the shopping experience. I'll say it like this. Messy wall, low sales, at least for jeans. Pretty attractive wall, higher sales for jeans and denim. So Tennis, at least for me at 19, took his job really, really seriously, like scary seriously. More seriously than I could appreciate. And he had demands for how fast I needed to bring him stock to ensure all 6 walls were properly managed. And he'd be shouting at me through the microphone. We had little radios. You got to have the right amount of colors or the washes, the different, light blue, dark blue, black, whatever, the right amount of sizes, and so on and so on. And this was going on for months and months and months as far as my responsibility and the screaming tennis matches with Tennis. And so one day I said to Tennis, after one of his demanding overtures, like, dude, this is just the Gap. These are just jeans, and this is just a wall. Like, why so serious? To which he looked at me, smirked, and explained, I've been doing this a long time with many different people, and I know how you see and perceive me. Old, bald, immigrant guy, over-laboring and over-caring about a nothing job. And I totally agree that it looks surfacely weird to me to be so particular, especially when after 15 years of doing this, I make a measly $20 an hour, which is the most they will ever pay me. And the math says 20 an hour is just a little over $40,000 a year. And let me tell you that I, Tennis, happen to love my life very much, and this non-glamorous jean role provides very well for me. Like, huh? I live in a rent-controlled $400 a month apartment in the middle of Manhattan. I take 3 weeks off every year to watch the U.S. Open. I told you a little on that, right? Hence the name Tennis. And my other week of vacation, I use it during Christmas because it's the one time a year my family comes to travel to see me. And all I have to do to maintain this is smile at whoever walks by and fold these jeans as pristinely as possible. So to you, it's just a Gap and a wall of jeans. But to me, this supplies my life just the way I like it. The message, you should obviously stop being so judgmental. Since you believe somehow you can be ahead or best said better than 99% of everyone by God knows whose standards. Because if you thought about Tennis and think about Tennis, not the sport, the guy I told you about, he's living that life. And the message then is that life has tricked you into believing that the things you see outside of yourself through social consciousness, which in short equates to the thoughts, assumptions, judgments, prejudices, laws, morality, values, attitudes, ideals, and emotions of the fraternity of the human race. That what you must achieve in order to be purposeful and ahead, the things you think you want, money, house, cars, etc., are of material form and value, which doesn't truly quantify the desire. Because ask yourself, why do you think you want them? Yes, mostly through social programming. Someone told you, you got to get that for success. But truthfully, we're talking emotion. It's likely because the thought of that material association is associated with believing that when you attain these things, you're going to feel something. And what is that feeling you're going to feel? Money, house, cars. It's not a trick or a test. And also when it becomes so basic and plain, it almost feels uncomfortable and either too good to be true or just plain old corny. What you are truly seeking is joy, jubilance, and fulfillment, love and happiness in yourself for your life, like tennis. And if that is true, that you merely seek things to achieve a specific feeling, then always chase the emotion of who you want to be by aligning the emotion of self-love and happy that associates with the game of life character you wish to become. Here is the step, repeating and emphasizing for effect, and because I make short stories long. If you could lead with self-love and script out the identity of the person that makes you feel like what might resemble success to you, and if you want and must, I'll oblige you with some social examples for visual indulgement. You could want to be a millionaire, a celebrity, an influencer, an athlete if you're still young enough. Not like me, that long past. A CEO, entrepreneur, a fitness freak, doctors and lawyers, the head of the school PTA. That's not a job I want. That feels shitty. Top dog at your current job. Tennis. Continuing to make a short story longer, but I can't stress the point enough. Focused in on those labeled archetypes dancing in your head and what we associate with their respective accomplishments. They appear to be ahead, which makes you want to appear to be ahead because of the social, material labels, money, house, car, fame. And when we look and study the mask or life game character these people resemble, we believe, we see, they exude more happiness, jubilance, joy, and fulfillment. Going back to my point of emphasis on what the actual chase is. The people displaying perceived aheadness are really just seeking to play out their love. Life is a game, and their character, revealed to them through their vision of self-love and self-domination, has leveled all the way up. I always do that, Fat Joe. By chasing the emotion of their ultimate end state. Simple math. Step one is to redirect your attention to the vision of you that aligns with your emotion of prosperity, whatever that is, however you define it. What you are seeking is the joy, the jubilation, the bliss, the overwhelming love, the emotion, and the feeling of you. Create a vision of the success off of the emotion. self-love, and never, ever let it go. Step 2, I told you there's 4. This one might be a bit shorter, and I really, really like this one. Tell no one. Another popular tactic in this self-improvement space that is immensely powerful, and I can sum it up this way. As just yesterday, I think from Dane Coe, I saw this. I think he's peopling in all the right way. He's super awesome and superb. Paraphrasing a bit, but here's what telling no one amounts to. When you speak on your goals and vision or pursuits, it is akin to mental masturbation. If that's true, the thought of speaking on it. Therefore, when you do speak on it, that is essentially the verbal orgasm. For as you speak the words of what you think you're going to do, you don't just release it. Your mind and consciousness then sees it as completed. Thereby, that becomes a demotivating experience because it's done, at least in your mind and with your words. So just imagine, if you can, the last time you said to a friend, a loved one, or whomever it is, that you were going to go do something, work out, go back to school, get a new job, start the business, write the book, get ahead of everyone. This is like the 19th video you've seen on it. Now that you can think of that, I ask again simply, have you made any progress since then? Or are you still in the phase of blowing your load by saying it out loud? And I think additional context is valuable here to continue to help me make it make sense. The person you are telling your goals to that you feel like you need to impress for some whatever reason, social consciousness, also has goals of their own. And because most people selfishly focus on themselves, which is also ego programming, along with the social conscious pressure, I will not stop saying that, they secretly believe that they too could get ahead of everyone or 99%, thereby believing they are better and should be better or ahead of everyone else. And that includes you. And because most people are trained to be too weak to tell you what they are really thinking and feeling, as you are telling them for the 99,000th time all that you're going to do, work out, write the book, start the business, in their head, as they hear this again, they're like, yeah, buddy, okay, I've heard that before. So boring and old. They're tired of it, thereby subconsciously releasing negative energy into your force field, your domain, your space. You don't want that. But this is also as egregious as you saying it, because when they go to coddle you, it's to avoid hurting you. So they spit out a lie to you, something like, yes, encouragement time. Totally. I can see that working out perfectly for you. Run that marathon, sprint that hill, lift the bodies off the floor. You can do it. And of course, as you are receiving this encouragement, your mind just eats up those positive words, which guess what? The confirmation from fake friends that you can do it. In the same way you speaking it, hearing it, aligns with you having accomplished what it says you would be doing. So you are basically having multiple verbal orgasms that equate to wet dreams. And it feels good, but it's not the real thing. So for God's sakes, yes, you can absolutely do it, but quit the verbal porn and tell no one. That is step 2. All right. We created the vision that seeks success through emotion. We are telling no one. On to step 3, which is to cultivate a growth mindset. And for the sake of not making any assumptions, here's the definition of a growth mindset so we have a baseline on which to speak off of. A growth mindset is a frame of mind that believes that abilities, intelligence, talents, and other such attributes can be developed through learning and effort. There goes that word no one likes. A growth mindset also emphasizes that challenges and failures are part of the learning process to which we can adapt and thrive as a result. A growth mindset allows for learning, motivation, performance, and resilience. People with the growth mindset are more likely to exert more effort, capital E, embrace change and challenges, and use feedback as an opportunity to learn. The emphasis, a growth mindset is learned. So you might be asking, what is a way to keep it simple in order to cultivate a growth mindset? You need to firstly start by creating a chart or documenting and going through a self-assessment exercise. It isn't sexy, can feel boring, but important. Begin by asking yourself some simple yet powerful self-reflection questions, such as, what have I been told I am good at? What have I been told I am poor at? Emphasis. What you are being told has a massive impact on what you believe subconsciously, and you need to unpack that and know that these are opinions of others. Reality check. Some are constructive and might help you grow. Growth mindset. Others aren't valuable and should be dismissed. Not to be confused with being fixed, right? Continuing with the self-assessment questions. What have I told myself I am really good at? What have I told myself I am really bad at? Reality check. What you tell yourself matters, and it'll always be true. Some of this, again, is constructive. Some of this is fear and doubt. Continuing along. What am I good at and why? Did it or does it come naturally to me? Or did I apply myself and practice it for years? Some of it without even realizing. For example, I learned I'm good at speaking. Couldn't tell, right? It also happens to be something I've been doing professionally for almost 20 years, so it makes sense. Continuing, asking, why am I not good? Did I try and fail early and quit? Have I not applied myself? Going back to effort. This is important criticism, and a lot of what you might realize is you haven't really put in the effort required. And that's a good thing, because effort is not a skill. It's really a matter of will, and that is entirely up to you. The significance of this step should be somewhat obvious, but let me high-level overview this. Self-reflection. This should be continual, forever. It is important to self-reflect on how you have arrived at wherever you are in life today, and realize if you don't self-assess and begin to cultivate faith in growth and a growth mindset, then you are essentially steady, stagnant, still, limited, and aligned with a fixed mindset. And that's super no gusto. So I'll close this step by comparing the difference between a growth and fixed mindset so you can have that for visual context. Growth mindset. Failure is an opportunity to grow. Fixed mindset. Failure is the limit of my abilities. Really process the two. Growth mindset. My effort, there it goes again, and attitude determine my abilities. Fixed mindset. I'm either good at it or not. My abilities won't change. I don't know how you believe that to be true, but okay. Growth mindset. Feedback is constructive. Fixed mindset. Feedback and criticism is personal. Got to get over yourself. I'm going to leave you with this. To stay fixed is essentially to think of your mind being like it's in thought debt. Like an overcharged credit card, it is only focused on what can't happen. And the largest impetus for not believing can likely be because of what has already happened in the past. And that too is super no bueno. Living in the past can be summed up as living in the curiosity about who you have been before, meaning you are continuing to evaluate yourself off of what is already gone and not returning. Thereby, in living this way, you miss right now. And you don't even know who you are right now. There is no change without growth. Put the effort. And this leads to the final step in the process. Again, for a short recap. Step 1, the vision of the emotion, feeling good. Step 2, tell no one, verbal porn. 3, the growth mindset, don't stay still. And lastly, and equally powerful, live in the now by living in the no. At first, no one is believed. And then they make it on the grandest stage of life, and everyone is just kind of like, yep, he or she is that person. That is him. But when they arrive, is it only in that moment that the person has become? Or is it that they've always been, or at the very least been behaving as, with great conviction over time? Living in the no, by living in the now, is the power of I am, which equates to your God-given power of creation. For I am who I say I am. You think exactly who you think you are. This is divinity, or you are who you think you are. This is divinity. The law of universe, attraction, high vibration, super consciousness. For if you are already now who you know you are to be, then everything else is on its way. For whatever you know, you will become. Now is the purpose for all that was. But if you insist on building a life of outside comparison through material or social consciousness and all that comes with it, focusing and prioritizing on getting ahead of everyone as if you could be or know truly of anyone else and their perceived aheadness or behindness, then by law, you'll always find yourself behind, because you will constantly run into something or someone you can't or won't ever be able to compare to. Otherwise, how would you know better or worse, ahead or behind? Rather, be ahead of who you are at all times and forever. Embrace the continual process of evolving your life character. Practice living. Stop being taught and become the teacher. Change your mind, change your life. I am who I say I am. Stay rich.